Even on the darkest nights, the soft hoot of a watchful owl inspires the kind of peace found only far away from the lights of a big city. That, plus their big bright eyes and the careful way they move their feathered heads, makes it easy to see why they're symbols of nobility and wisdom. Yet, when experts found an owl stuck in the wilderness of eastern England, the poor bird didn't appear to be up to her ilk's reputation. Confused as to how she'd ended up in her position in the first place, experts knew there was only one move they could make to save the creature's life. In 2020, a concerned citizen spotted a creature in a roadside ditch that appeared unable to escape. On closer examination, they saw the poor thing was an owl struggling to move. It wobbled awkwardly around. Clearly, something wasn't right. Was the owl hurt? The person knew that approaching or handling the creature could do more damage inadvertently. Not knowing the best course of action for the bird, they called the experts to report an animal in distress. Rufus Samkin, head falconer of the Suffolk Owl Sanctuary in eastern England, arrived on the scene to rescue what happened to be a breed of little owl, though little she was not. In fact, she was one of the biggest owls he'd ever encountered. Based on her limited attempts at mobility, the Owl Sanctuary staff agreed that the owl wasn't capable of flight. Also, she was soaking wet, which drastically impeded her ability to fly. So they took her to their facility to determine what held her back. Due to her size, they nicknamed the little owl Plump. Not the most polite name, no, but it was also chosen as more of a tribute to her extraordinary feat. It's not every day you run into a portly owl out in nature. Scientists conducted a full examination to access Plump's overall physical condition. Ultimately, everyone was most curious about her weight. They positioned her on a scale, and as the final weight appeared, the room broke out in gasps of appreciation. The scale read 245 grams, falling into the classification of extremely obese. In comparison, the average adult female owl ranges somewhere around 150 to 220 grams. They concluded that their husky owl was about a third larger than the rest of her species. It's particularly rare to encounter an owl in the wild who has extra poundage. Suffolk Owl Sanctuary staff members frequently work with birds suffering the effects of limited food sources. Given Plump's size, they wondered if she was actually a wild bird at all. Logically, the team reasoned Plump could be someone's pet. It wouldn't be out of character for a well-intentioned human to overfeed their feathered friend. They changed course after attempts to locate an ID chip or a family missing an owl turned up dry. Another floated possibility was that Plump had escaped from captivity. They presented her with a range of food options, including bright yellow baby chicks. If she ate those, the experts would know she wasn't raised in the wild. Plump ignored them, though. They ran tests to try and piece together how this substantial gal had reached her current weight. Upon examination, none of the results pointed to any contributing explanation for her fatness. She'd simply been in the right place at the right time. The whole thing is quite exceptional, as most birds we see are starving, Samkin explained. Plump had somehow beat the odds. In a world where surviving isn't always a certainty for an owl, Plump was thriving. The place this owl called home offered a nearly endless buffet of creatures for her taking. She'd uncovered a place where crawling rodents outnumbered her by a landslide. So she did what any animal would do and took advantage of the free food. Instead of shaming the owl for her rotundness, scientists pointed the finger at the real culprit behind the increased food source: the climate. Unseasonably high temperatures in December 2019 led to the overpopulation of rodents, also known as an owl's smorgasbord. She absolutely gorged herself and got very fat. She had a lovely time, but she went too far, Samkin said. While big fans of Plump at any weight, the Owl Sanctuary staff set a goal to help her shed a few pounds to regain her ability to fly. 2 weeks of monitored dieting later, Plump lost between 30 and 40 grams, which made all the difference. In addition, the bird specialist increased her activity level, having her fly little laps around the rehabilitation center. At the end of Plump's Rocky-style training camp, her final obstacle was to reach the aviary's perches. If she could do that, then she'd meet the safety requirements for an animal dependent on flight. With the same determination that she'd gulp down all those scurrying mice, Plump made quick gains to reach the perch like a champion. The team at Suffolk Owl Sanctuary was so proud of Plump's progress, yet sad to watch her go. Plump was released, soaring off into the same wilderness where she'd been found a few weeks earlier. The rescue team hoped her healthier weight would prepare her to safely re-enter nature, even with the looming temptation of delicious rodents.